Okay. It's been a few weeks, so I have 5 episodes to catch up on, I believe.
He knew that if Star called his name.
Also, I feel like I need to address this. I have been spoiled on the ending of the manga. I'm currently recording this the night of the 7th into the 8th of August, so the manga has officially ended, and I have been spoiled on certain details of it. Not all details. I'm not confident about some of the things I've heard, but I'm sure a lot of people know the main things that I've probably been spoiled on because they've been memed to hell and back. But yeah, I just felt like I should address that. I know it's probably another season out still at least, but just full transparency on that.
Transfer the cages to locations we've chosen.
I wish
This
Monoma
fight
got
will
to
span
actually
the
be
country.
serious there.
Our largest threat.
That would have been a
Shigaraki,
nice
will
growth for his
transport to
character.
UA's co-
Usually intros will grow on me. I would say this one has actually grown off me. I feel like this singer's voice sometimes works really well and other times does not work at all. That entire sequence just made me upset because of how the ending goes. My hope, Chads, we will get AoE this time.
Is the final boss having trouble using his powers?
You've got to stop shouting, please.
I feel like Monoma could have still laughed, but not psychotically. I think he should have done it with confidence instead. I feel like that would have been a nice growth for his character. I know he's the joke character, but I would like to see growth from him. How is this not a quirk?
I still can't believe I used to think you were cool.
How is he not?
You turned out to be another disappointment.
I still don't get that. How is he a disappointment?
Razorhead. This is simply my physical body growing. The same way
How?
my hair gets longer in order to accommodate the numerous quirks
What?
housed inside of me. The singularity that Garaki proposed. You people cover up the truth. Try to ignore a future you can't hope to change.
That seems really dumb to me.
We have to warp Midoriya back as soon as we can!
But they can't.
Possible.
Yeah, they can't let him blink.
Copy more than one quirk at a time. It
Yeah.
will take at least 10 seconds to switch from Erasure to Warp and bring Midoriya to this location, but you're going to have to find a way here on your own. We'll do our best to hold Shigaraki back in the meantime.
Luckily, he's one of their fastest characters.
We can defeat this vile enemy! Yes, sir!
Come on.
Okay, that's a title. Shigaraki's power set is nonsensical. I'm sorry.
No move! No telling how many quirks Awful One gave him! Take him out!
I don't think we've seen that design before. There's Moonfish. God,
So much flesh!
I feel like Moonfish is a very underutilized villain.
Izuku Midoriya is the 9th wielder of One for All, a crystallization of powers. It's no surprise
Why-
he's the most important asset in this battle.
Why do we need the
His
narrator
arch
here?
enemy is All for One, a villain who has been plotting and maneuvering behind the scenes in Japan and around the world since the beginning of superhuman society.
What is this
He's
JJK
desperate to get his
narration?
hands on- He's still a damned nerd.
I've liked you since I first
Okay.
saw you. In fact, you look just like my first crush.
That's weird.
Hero, what do you want to do to me?
Toga is a very weak villain.
Why can't you be normal?
What a poor soul you are, trying to suppress your true nature.
If you threaten people so you can do what you want, and you deserve whatever's coming to you.
Yeah, she has no idea how to be a human being.
You don't get it.
You don't explain it.
You think that the only people worthwhile are heroes and the ones they protect. That I don't matter.
They never said that.
That's why you won't give me the time of day.
You're also trying to fucking kill them!
If the world is going to reject me, then I'll reject the world right back.
You got mad at them for killing twice, but you have sought
So sad.
their death since you first loved them.
We know how to fight her better than anyone.
Do you? You lost your first fight, didn't you? Pretty sure you both did.
Stop. This is how you act when I confess my love. Why is it so hard to be me? Go now.
You confessed and then said you were giving up on them. What? Toga is just not handled well.
You want to be injured when you finally reach the battle?
No.
That expression was a very not Deku
Told
look.
you my can no longer be used the same way it was in the past.
Hang on, I need to count real quick. Fajin, Black Whip, Danger Sense, Smokescreen, Float. Izuku's the 9th. All Might's the 8th. The Brother is the 1st. This would be the last one. Yeah, okay.
I couldn't stand to let her reveal the precious secret you've been hiding. What a villain.
Seriously?
I love you, Izuku.
These angles are such shonen shit.
I don't need heroes.
Yeah, you need therapy.
Go off and die somewhere. Not happening.
Stop with the fucking fan service!
I think is right.
I feel like the fan service has gotten worse in these last 2 seasons. There's been a lot of cameras focusing on assets.
This is about each of us getting resentments out on the table. One person against the other, each trying to achieve our own goals.
Yup.
The ability to live freely.
That's the
to change society.
perfect explanation of what's going on.
This world has been out of balance for a long time now, and some of us won't accept that. Superhuman society has reached an end. You may not see it yet, but it's the truth.
The more they elaborate on some of the things that you would think are the main themes, the more I think about the ending and the more frustrated I get. I guess quasi-spoilers for the ending. I haven't read it. I've just been spoiled on certain details of it and what happens and what doesn't happen, which is how I know my personal headcanon doesn't really work. So, spoilers for this time period. So, honestly, I think this episode has hurt my opinion of this a lot, but I think Uraraka is a lot better written than a lot of people give her credit for. I think her main issue comes down to the length of the show, because if the show was like 20 seasons or something, her getting less focus throughout a lot of the arcs wouldn't be as big of a deal. But the focus that she does get is quite good in my opinion. And I think her arc from, depending on your viewpoint, either season 4 through 6 or season 1 through 6, where the whole idea of who protects the heroes, I think that was a brilliantly handled arc. And I think it reflected what I felt were the core themes of the show. And the problem is they're not going any further with it. Despite the fact that everything around the show ties into that same goddamn theme. Almost every single villain would not have become a villain if they had gotten proper therapy of some kind. The overwhelming majority of the characters in the hero camp need therapy. And the entire idea of superheroes being expected to be perfect, meaning that they never get the help that they need, and All Might making the world seem so good that no one helps the kids who need that different kind of help. That all seems to be tying into themes of people who are different and need help when no one is there to support them. And Uraraka was finally becoming that person. I am a strong supporter of well-represented mental health in fiction. It's a reason why a lot of unhealthy relationships in fiction drive me fucking insane. It's a reason why ReZero is such a beloved story for me, because self-love is literally the core theme of that show. And the main romance doesn't culminate in anything until it finally becomes an actual healthy romance where they're not just putting each other on a pedestal or trying to just protect each other and actually air out their criticisms of each other. And it's why something like Mushoku Tensei has been pissing me off, because the unhealthy aspects of the relationships are not being presented as being unhealthy. So the fact that this show gets so close to a brilliant handling of mental health topics and then just builds it up so constantly over the course of the entire show with constant monologues about the topic and then doesn't fucking go anywhere with it is so goddamn infuriating. I should have just waited for this episode to finish. There's like 30 seconds left. There's a lot of other issues I have with the ending and everything I've heard about this arc, but on a personal level, the lack of follow-through on the topics of mental health is what really is killing me about this. If you don't have any understanding of why mental health would be important to someone, one, it's just an important topic to normalize, and this show felt like it was doing that as one of the main themes. But on top of that, I'm autistic, and I have been bullied for many years, and I have ADHD, and I have had ODD, and I have depression, and I have anxiety, so these topics are very meaningful to me. I imagine a lot of other anime fans have at least some of those same disorders. I'm going to finish the episode now. Seriously, making every major villain just someone who suffers from mental health issues and then not really going further into those themes and having so many characters deal with the topic. I could probably count on one hand the amount of characters in the story who would not have massively benefited from therapy. Mei, Shinso, Hagakure, Nejire. You know what? Let's run through all of Class 1A. Aoyama. That's pretty obvious. He has a lot of self-hatred because of his betrayal of the class. Ashido. She seemed pretty damn close to having a panic attack when she realized who Gigantomachia was. That fucked her up more than she even realized. Okay, there's another one. Asui. I don't think there's much for her. Bakugo, that's blatantly obvious. Hagakure is largely fine, I think. She doesn't... The most emotion she's ever displayed was when Aoyama was revealed as the traitor. And, I mean, they could have developed it like her being, like, depressed because no one, including herself, has ever been able to actually physically see her. Like, there's a storyline they could have done there, but I get it. Female characters in shonen can't have actual development. Ida had the entire revenge arc. He would have benefited from therapy there. Jiro has the whole conflict of the music she learned from her parents, but wanting to be a hero and trying to balance those two things. Kaminari, if he's not directly defending one of his classmates, he seems to struggle a bit with confidence and courage. Kirishima, pretty obvious. He's struggled with self-confidence and the ability to act in crisis situations. Koda, pretty obvious. He's got massive anxiety and shyness issues. Midoriya, obviously traumatized more than he would ever realize because of his past. On top of that, he is the type of character who pushes the boundary between being a hero and being suicidal. Mineta, I don't need to explain at all. Ojiro doesn't have enough of a personality to really need therapy, so I guess that's another one. Same with Sato and Sero. Shoji, I think we're going to get development for in this season, given the ending. Todoroki, that's blatantly obvious. Tokoyami could use therapy to help manage his emotions better, because if he loses control of them, Dark Shadow gets out. So that would definitely help his case. Ochako, I mean, there's definitely things she can work on. I don't think there's substantial amounts to work on. It would just be a matter of kind of coming into herself more and accepting elements of who she is. Momo, obviously she had the entire arc about her own self-confidence and that kind of thing, so that seems pretty clean cut to me. Then for the fun of it, let's look at Class B. Okay. Most of these don't have personalities, but Monoma could absolutely use therapy. He projects massive amounts of self-confidence because he doesn't actually have any confidence in himself because of everything people said to him when he was a kid. That is absolutely something that would be benefited with therapy. Muscular and All for One. I think are two of the only characters who would never benefit from any kind of therapy because they strictly do not want to be better than they are. And there's no part of them that would even give it that chance. They want to be evil. Everyone else was broken and then they became evil because of that. They don't seek evil for its own sake. Toga doesn't even realize she's being evil. Shigaraki wants to destroy the world because it... You know that one proverb everyone references with the character of Killmonger from Marvel? The child who's rejected by the village will burn it down to feel its warmth. Shigaraki's that. Same with Dabi. Muscular and All For One are some of the only characters who are evil for the sole purpose of it feeling good to be evil in their eyes. They don't have an agenda. They don't have goals. They don't have a mission. They just want to fight and be evil. Even Overhaul, someone who most people would regard as one of the most evil characters in this show, has elements that suggest a potential for growth. Like, he wanted to help Pops, whatever the Yakuza boss's name was. He wanted to help him. He just had a gross misunderstanding of how helping people worked. And that all checks out given the fact that he was orphaned until the boss took him in and then was raised by a fucking crime group. God, this show is frustrating. I think the most frustrating part of it, though, is that if I hadn't been spoiled on the manga's ending, I don't think I would have had all these problems yet. I would have given it until the story ends before I addressed my issues. But because I know some parts of how it ends, frankly, I think Attack on Titan has killed my ability to hope for anime original ending. There's also supposed to be some kind of project that's still coming out in the works later on, right? Wait, the big secret project was a fucking popularity contest? Peak. That's good. Okay, anyway, that's not what I was looking for. Holy fucking shit! They built up some big announcement at the end of the series, and it's a fucking character poll? They've done like 70 of those! Jesus Christ. I imagine this is probably pretty similar to how Attack on Titan fans who actually cared about the story felt seeing that ending. This isn't quite as bad. It's way more unfulfilling, but it's not a complete disrespect to the entire story, I feel. And it's not a mockery of ethics and morality and storytelling and characters and writing. I've been trying to argue for a while now that it's not bad, it's just unfulfilling. But at this point, I feel like it might just be bad. And you know what? I'm going to go out and say it. I do not blame Horikoshi for this. I do not think he bears the blame for how this turned out. I feel like someone like Isayama definitely deserves the criticism for how Attack on Titan turned out. And I would say GG is somewhere in the middle of these two. But overall, the real villain of every fucking manga that has ever been made, mainly the shonen ones, is the goddamn deadlines. I am getting really fucking sick of anime and manga getting shitty handling because of bullshit deadline nonsense. And the deadlines are not the fault of the story creators. I just wish they were given some kind of chance to jump ship from wherever they were publishing and get to somewhere that's a little more fucking generous with its time frames. These people dedicate decades of their lives to these stories, but they have to shortened them and ruined them because of the fact that people who do absolutely none of the work want more money faster from it. Capitalism is a great thing, isn't it? It truly is a masterclass of destroying everything that's good. God, fuck. I'm so mad I can barely fucking try to enjoy the show. Thank God I'm not watching Mushoku Tensei right now. I would just completely fucking snap if I was to be watching that right now. Okay. I'm calling it for this episode. That's it. I'm done. I have to watch the other episodes now. I'm just going to watch them like a normal fucking person. And I'm going to enjoy them like a normal fucking person. And I hear this episode's really good, so I hope this improves my mood, because God, I'm not happy right now. Alright, here we go. Okay, what have we got? Big fight.
Some fight.
My fire's gotten super awesome. You gotta see. I bet I can get to Shoto's level pretty soon. No, even better. I'll be stronger than All Might. Suck it up. Don't be a baby. Don't cry.
I accept that Endeavor was not a great parent to Toya, but Toya, it is 70% his fault. This is the equivalent of a swordsman who has a child and tries to teach that child sword skills, but when that child has a weak constitution and they fucking can't even hold the sword without getting sick, the parent tries to get them to stop doing it, and then to get their attention, the child just starts fucking stabbing themselves. That is what this is the equivalent of. I feel almost no sympathy for Toya over this. This is so aggressively his fault. If he had done literally anything with his life, Endeavor wouldn't have... I don't think Endeavor would have been as bad of a parent to him. I don't think Endeavor would have been as bad a parent to any of them. Toya is a large part of the reason why both Rei and Enji snapped. Enji already wasn't a great person, but everything with Toya made it so much worse. And so much of that is Toya's fault. If I didn't even somewhat understand why Shigaraki, Spinner, and Toga are all sympathetic villains, or at least tragic villains, I would get it, but Toya is just so unsympathetic to me. This is such a hard topic because a lot of people who commit self-harm of any kind are suffering in some way, and it's very legitimate suffering, but at the same time, so much of it is just a cry for attention. Not even a cry for help, a cry for pure attention. If I were to be sympathetic to Toya, I would need to see, 1, Endeavor pushing him way fucking harder in the early stages. All we see is like 2 scenes of Endeavor being like, hey, look at this fire. You can do it too. I'm going to train you. That's all the pushing we see for this. That's it. And then we need to see Endeavor neglecting Toya prior to Toya doing shit. Endeavor's neglect for Toya largely comes after Toya tries to fucking kill a child, and after Toya has been burning himself constantly. That's when we see a lot of Endeavor's more poor parenting skills with him. But for Toya to be sympathetic, that needed to come first. Because that means it's more Endeavor's fault than it is Toya's. I'm with this show in most of how it portrays its villains. I thought Gentle was a really sympathetic and sad story. I thought La Brava was... She's kind of a weird case where she wasn't a great person, but she didn't deserve a horrible life, I don't think. And a lot of that horrible life came from a lack of confidence. which is another instance of this show having characters who would benefit from therapy. Overhaul was never portrayed as a sympathetic character. We were given his reasons, and he might have even been... He was never even presented as tragic. He was presented as misguided at best. And Shigaraki, at the bare minimum, is at least a tragic character. Toga is... There's a lot to unpack with Toga in a lot of ways. The problem is the love aspect of her character overshadows so much of the stuff that would be more interesting to develop. Like the fact that she doesn't understand how being human works or why people are trying to stop her. She genuinely can't comprehend it. And that would be much more interesting of a concept to go into than horny girl likes main character. Like, that part of Ochako's arc that's about protecting heroes is so fucking good. And then every other instance of female character writing in this entire story is so bad. Okay. I don't have any water to compensate for all my ranting. I need to keep going.
Please, no. It hurts. Make it stop. I don't want to die. I can't. Not now.
He had everything.
What? Huh?
I gotta get home.
You can't do that, Sonny.
Why not?
Because from now on, you live here with these other bright, smiley kids. Make sure you get along, because they're your new family. I'm sure you'll
You
feel...
don't understand. I have to go. I have to find
Okay.
Dad.
Despite everything I just said, everything that happened after what I just said has made Toya more sympathetic. It's everything that I feel was supposed to make him sympathetic before that made him just feel more like a monster to me. This barely feels like the same character, in my opinion. The mental voice they're doing is really interesting and helps to hammer home that he's still a child, at least mentally here. But I'm having a hard time balancing the four versions of Toya that we've seen. Because in a show that generally has pretty reasonable character growth, where they don't feel like they completely change as people, he feels like a different character each time. As a child, before Shoto was born and it was revealed that he had a poor body for the quirk, he seemed like a different character than after Endeavor stopped training him. And that's a different character to this, which is a different character to Dabi. It feels too drastic of a shift. I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that he tried to fucking kill Shoto. I have a sibling. When we were kids, we did not get along. I would do things that were done with the intent of hurting her. She did the same to me. Neither of us would have tried to fucking kill the other.
I didn't say some terrible things before, so I need to tell Mom I'm sorry. The others too. And I'll show Dad what I can do.
This is a different character. There is changing because of your trauma. And then there is your entire personality shifting completely to something different. The last times we saw him prior to that last trip to the mountain, he was just displaying rage and anger and disgust at everyone else in his family, shifting to a desire to apologize to them when, frankly, in his eyes, Endeavor abandoned him and allowed him to... This should have set him off against Endeavor more, Because in his eyes, Endeavor may as well have abandoned him to die. Like, that should not have encouraged him to want to apologize to the others. Also, All For One finding him is completely unnecessary. It doesn't even make any sense. Did All For One just fucking tell the broker about every single person he's ever encountered who would make for a good villain? I've heard some of what happens with Shigaraki and All For One later on as well, and that felt unnecessary. This feels so much stupider, though, because there was already a reason for Dabi to be the way he was, and already a reason for him to join the League of Villains, and already someone who actively had to go and find him to bring him into the League of Villains. So having him already have a tie to the League of Villains doesn't make any fucking sense.
Who are you to think you have the right, huh? I'll learn from my father.
Hey, calm down, son. We're your friends.
Shut up! Back off! Don't you touch me!
It was too late for us to bring him into the fold. He was devoted to another.
I feel like I've already said my piece plenty on why this writing for his character bothers me. But I do really want to credit the voice actor for Dabi. I already praised him a lot for last season, but his range is truly impressive with this character. For most of the show so far, he's been a very subdued character. Then he completely chewed the scenery last season, and now he's playing a younger version of himself with a less raspy voice, and he's doing it perfectly. He may honestly have one of the best performances in this dub, which I wasn't expecting. He wasn't bad. He was just kind of not anything for most of the show so far, but that's because Dabi wasn't anything for most of the show so far. The central issue I have with so much of this comes down to I don't understand why he was so unbelievably obsessed with becoming stronger with his quirk. I feel like it would have been so easy to make it clear why, but they just never showed Endeavor pushing him in any regard.
I wanted to see what was different, what my absence had done, how my family coped. The scene I walked in on told me everything I needed to know. Nothing had changed in the 3 years I was gone.
A lot had changed, actually.
My family had forgotten about me. His suffering will be proof that I existed!
I told you I'm not gonna let you do that, big brother!
Alright. Let's see this fight now. I've voiced my complaints with the writing, so let's see the payoff of everything that bothered me.
Ultimate move, Flashfire Fist.
Okay, what the fuck is up with this JJ Chaos narration? I fucking hate this cat. What is up with these goddamn shows randomly throwing in a narrator who tells us a bunch of information that was unnecessary and could have been told in another format? And why is it not something that had been done in the show prior? We got introductions for each character, but that was kind of it. It did the zoom in on the character, and we got the names and the quirk and all that, but we haven't gotten consistent narration of how moves work. Or last episode was so much worse with it. We know Izuku is awkward with women. We have seen it. We see it in that fucking scene. You do not need to tell us about it. JJK still feels so much more random, because at least there's some degree of, this has already happened with this, but, they literally already explained Flashfire Fist. That just clicked to me. They literally already explained it, I think in Season 5, when Endeavor was training Shoto. Okay, give me the fucking fight, please.
Hellspider!
Another one of Endeavor's
It's Endeavor's
moves.
move,
Yep.
but bigger and sloppier. It's strange.
He's the only one who can really stand up to this. He's got the fire resistance, but he's also got the cold to work with. So what's he doing?
He's fast.
What's he been building up to? Shoto's been building something the entire time. So what's he...
Yeah, far too many detours.
There's the Todoroki theme.
Decision I made. Why? So you can face him instead of All for One? You know that of the remaining heroes, you're the only person able to put up a real fight against that tyrant.
Okay. I do want to say, regardless of how much I complain about Toya's writing, the rest of the Todoroki family has consistently been excellent. Toya is the only one I'm frustrated with. Shoto's arc is still great so far. And Endeavor's... the parts of Endeavor that go with Toya's early stages don't make sense to me. But everything from Shoto's backstory to now, I feel like they've really nailed. It's just Toya that I have the issues with.
Give me everything you've got! Maybe that'll help you cool your head!
Alright.
He's got a body that can withstand my inferno, and the power to chill my fire.
Yep.
He's probably the most fitting opponent I'll ever face. You go on and on trying to tell me what's
You can
right
beat
and what's
Endeavor,
wrong.
but you can't beat him.
It went out. I'll have to start again. In this limited superhuman society,
Maybe you shouldn't have
a
been
war
charging
trail
for his
will
entire
never be able to lay
monologue.
beside a straight and narrow one.
Is he gonna kill him, though?
Our paths will cross.
You're not gonna be able to just...
Ah, here.
Dabi is not someone you'll be able to just stop. But I don't know if... I don't think he'd be able to kill him. Frozen solid? No, just put out the fires. Would that be enough, though? I plan to do a lot more, but because of how much talking I had to fucking do, or I felt the need to do, it's gotten a lot later than I intended. I've almost hit 2 hours of recording on 2 episodes. So I'm going to call it a night for here, but prior to Dabi's backstory being shown, I would say he was probably the best written villain. Since he got backstory, he's progressively dropped in my rankings, I feel. I feel like there's not much more I can say without just repeating the same sentiments at this point. I don't know. I also can't tell if, like, that's the end of it, because, like, the war arc, the final war is probably going to be, like, 2 seasons, right? Like, it's so incredibly long in the manga, I can't imagine it being anything less than seasons 7 and 8. But this would imply that one of the 3 main threats is dealt with within 4 episodes of the war beginning. Arguably 3. And I know this season is supposed to go for 21 episodes, I think. So that already is like, what, 13 episodes still in this season? Plus probably another 20 in the next season? There's no way Dabi is already defeated. Which makes this victory seem hollow for now. I also feel like, despite what I said, Shoto's writing here wasn't nearly as strong as it could have been. I felt a little underwhelmed by his ultimate. I feel like compared to his big attacks during like season 2 and 3, that was not very impressive. I feel like freezing Dabi solid would have been the more impressive thing. Because he's encased people in ice, but freezing them solid would be a different thing entirely. And you could argue that would kill him, but this is also a fantasy series that regularly avoids handling things the way, real life handles them. So they easily could have had him survive that if they wanted to, especially given the fact that he was born to withstand an ice quirk, which is probably how they're going to bring him back into the fight here anyway. I hope the dynamics between the other characters in Shigaraki and All for One are better handled, because I don't know. It's hard for me to put into words why this felt as underwhelming as it did. Because I feel like it went beyond my issues with Toya. I feel like it went into issues that I had with Shoto, but I don't know what those issues are. I do think part of it is that I was having trouble hearing some of the things they were saying, which isn't usually a problem for me. So it's weird that happened here, but I don't know. The Todoroki storyline has a lot of really, really good ideas to it all, and a lot of the execution of it has been very strong over the course of the show. I just feel like starting with Toya's backstory, not with the reveal of Dabi as Toya, that was probably the height of the storyline, but Toya's backstory onward, I feel, has been a little underwhelming, all things considered. Because if this is the finisher for Shoto or Toya, I feel like I'm left underwhelmed by their conclusions. I do think part of it's the animation. I don't think this was the best quality they could have had. It wasn't bad by any means, but comparing it to Shoto's Awakening in Season 2, it's night and day, I feel. I'm tired. My throat is extremely sore. So I have to end this here.